I'm Tania Saba, a professor at the School of Industrial Relations at the Université de Montréal and also the BMO Chair in Diversity and Governance.
To begin, could you maybe briefly give us your sense of the 2 or 3 main forces that are shaping the future of skills in Canada right now? And what does it mean for Canada in terms of economic recovery from COVID-19?
I would say that there are 3 main challenges that need to be considered to better understand skills gap as they present themselves in a pandemic period or as they would have presented themselves anyway, given the context of important organizational changes that we are going through due to the acceleration of disruptive technologies. So the first challenge would be a great deal of uncertainty on the part of organization. We know that work processes are bound to change, but we don't know how they are going to actually change. So we need to look at the way the diagnosis for organization and to understand how work systems are going to evolve due to the disruptive technologies. The second challenge is related to the first one and refers to the ability to anticipate needs in terms of skills, to evaluate those already considered as key on the job market. And all government, education institutions, stakeholders on the labor market are trying to identify these skills, identify new skills dimensions. They take into account soft skills, digital skills, complex solving skills, more holistic, more multidisciplinary, more cross-functional to exceed the capabilities of artificial intelligence. And I would say the third challenge would be of being able to think outside the box and try to succeed where we have not been successful so far. It's about finding the means to compensate for gaps in terms of capacities and skills. And this means that we need more collaborative initiatives to develop new skills, improve skills between professional, vocational, academic institutions, as well as community organizations and workplaces that would become more accountable for the development of adult skills. And all these initiatives need to be supported by institutional government policies that facilitate and fund shared platforms.
So we understand the key word that you mentioned several times in your answer is skills. So what does your most recent research show about skills development for Canada's future workforce? And how have these findings been impacted by the pandemic?
I have conducted a field research between the months of April 2019 and April 2020. So it covers a bit the beginning of the pandemic and the COVID-19 crisis. 2,000 respondents took part in this survey, and which aimed at examining the impact of digital technologies and artificial intelligence on jobs and skills gaps that may result from these organizational transformations. So first, the survey asked for the opinion of the participants on the transformation that have affected their jobs. Then we asked them to identify the cross-functional skills that will be required in various sectors and training areas. And third, we asked them to identify organizational actions that could develop these skills. And we paid attention to individuals based on their demographic profile, including gender, age, and members in underrepresented groups. So the results are really fascinating. In almost 40% of the cases, participants perceived an improvement in their working conditions due to technology, which is a good thing. Approximately 40% anticipated no change, and 17% believed that they will go through a decline in the job quality. So when asked about their anticipated difficulty of finding a job in the same occupation or field, 26% expressed a greater ease in finding jobs in their field, 25% a greater difficulty in doing so, and almost 50% noted no change. So we are now like living a very polarized setting. Those very concerned who think they are going to be better off with technology, artificial intelligence, and a majority who thinks nothing will change, and the same percentage who thinks that they are very vulnerable on the labor market. From the research that I conducted, I still think that we live in a world where expertise is valued. It's a good thing. However, not all training, academic or professional programs develop the needed soft skills, digital skills, problem solving skills that are said to be required by transformation in the workplace systems. So what I have done is I have analyzed 10 job families in my study, and findings show that participants working in management jobs, for instance, are most likely to develop more cross-functional and soft skills. On the other hand, participants working in science jobs, which are generally more specialized, appear more reluctant to develop content, management, or social skills. Respondents who work in the information technology field appear to be more proficient in cognitive, technical, and system skills, but less proficient in social skills. So the thing is also, the higher the education level is, the more likely cross-functional and social skills are mastered. In smaller companies, social management processes skills are more likely also to be mastered. In larger firms, technical and system skills are more likely to be mastered. So really more research is needed. And I think my current project with the Future Skills Center and the Diversity Institute is trying to examine how employers this time view the skill needed from their employees in relation to the changes that they anticipate and the industries in which they operate.
So what populations of the Canadian economy would you say face the most hurdles in terms of entering employment or developing skills needed to thrive in the future economy?
In our research, we paid particular attention to the situation of women, older workers, and members of minority groups. And we try to echo studies that argue that disruptive technologies may exacerbate existing inequalities in the representations of members of vulnerable groups in skilled and quality jobs. And, in our findings, we saw that while women represented 69% of the respondents, they were mostly present in job families related to health and administration, and much less in manufacturing and IT. And these sectors are in the midst of important changes to come. Also, women were confident that their skills and employability was not bad, was good, but they consistently reported lower cognitive, managerial, technical, and system skills. Also, 7% of our respondents reported belonging to an underrepresented group. So like ethnocultural minorities, racial minorities, indigenous, or persons with disabilities. And the results clearly show that despite their low representation in the sample, they are in more vulnerable situation. First, more of them are working in jobs outside their field of training. Second, they were more concerned about the value of their current skills the next few years, and they are more fearful about the possibility of finding another satisfying job. And they were also more likely to believe that technology will replace a greater proportions of their skills.
So what would you say must be done by these key stakeholders to create a more diverse workforce, to be better prepared? What are the risks and what are the opportunities too?
We have to look at new ways of developing skills. And again, as I said at the beginning, more collaborative initiatives to be developing these skills becomes really very important. First, in workplaces, if I can give few examples, like around some collaboration, giving confidence to employees to try new things, communication, such as encourage learning by giving time to individual, reward individual for learning, allow time to build trusting relationships, always give feedback. Also, another type of, I think, practices that can be put forward, risk taking and development of global thinking is very important. So recognize people who take initiative, give individual control over the resources that they need to do their jobs, support employees who take risks. A third component would be training, shadowing, mentoring, and learning from experienced colleagues and supervisors. So provide regular skill assessment and feedback to employees, some things that all organizations do not do. I mean, again, go through assessments and make sure that they have a culture, a learning culture within the organization. Another component would be always evaluate, always measure. So create systems to measure gaps between the current level of performance and what is expected, and find measures in terms of time, resources also to spend in training. And maybe another important component is build communities of practices and make employees participate in assistance measures, such as enable them to work with external communities to meet mutual needs. So really, we have to think a bit outside the box. We have to reinforce training within the workplaces, but also in collaborative platforms across organizations.